Dude, so I've been getting these freaking emails I was telling you about earlier. I'll send out a piece of content. People reply like, Jason, that's not new. And it just drives me insane, man. It drives me insane because I never profess that it is new. Most of the stuff that I talk about with Outbound, I'm not like, this is like not a brand new concept. I think I provide a different way of maybe looking at it or a framework around it. Do you ever get that, dude, when you're working with customers or creating content, just people being like, oh, this is nothing new. This is not novel.
No, I don't get that, but I think that's because I don't know if people I don't get exactly the same kind of engagement that you get. Like, and I've been someone who has kind of pounded the fundamentals and how boring the fundamentals are for a long time, but I don't know if people like me enough to tell me that this isn't new. I don't know if I get those people. Occasionally I'll have someone tell me that I've described something in a new way before, which kind of blows my mind because look, it's intuitive to me. What I say is what I've been thinking about. And if it came to me, I just assume that it comes to everybody that way, which I know is not the right way to do it. But yeah, I don't get that as much, but what that tells me is something very interesting about the attention span of the people we're reaching and what those people are looking for. It tells me that they're looking for something new. They're not interested in something unless it's new. And that tells me that they're dodging their responsibilities of doing what they know needs to be done the way it has been proven to be done before. That's not satisfactory to them. They want something new. They want something novel. They want something different. They want something they can brag about to their friends. And you and I don't live in that space. Yeah. You and I are like, here, this is what has always worked. Let me twist it a little bit for modern times. Let me modify it so we can speak current language. Let's use email as a template instead of a phone as a template. No one carries pagers around anymore. Like, let's update it, but like, here it is. And people don't want that. That blows my mind.
Yeah. It almost reminds me of like how people might approach losing weight. I love using fitness and health analogies. And sure, there's been some more science that's come out and, is fat good or bad for you? A lot of that stuff has been kind of back and forth, but really like in the last 100 years, you could say that, hey, if you follow the rule of like, try to consume less than you,
less, sweat more. Is that good enough?
And part of me is like, I wonder why sometimes we can't make sales that simple, where it's like, does there always have to be a new thing? Because why not just say, like, if we boiled sales down, well, let's look at prospecting first. If we boiled prospecting down to the just very bare bones basics, it would be identify a ICP, your ideal client profile person, know who you're engaging, know the problems that you're going to help them with, then engage them, then send emails to them, make phone calls, maybe LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you're using, and then convert, right? Once you start the conversation, somehow you need to get a meeting set, right? And along the way, you're probably going to have to handle objections. If we just boiled prospecting down to that simple framework, I don't think it's ever changed. Whether you had to deliver that message in person, whether you had to use the freaking yellow pages to find the businesses that you're getting, I don't really think that's changed.
Right. It hasn't. I've got a client that I've been working with specifically, and I've been trying to, or I'm thinking about specifically. Of course, I work with them specifically, but I've been thinking about them specifically because they've got so many metrics that they manage within their business and different levels of employee and things like that. I'm like, hold on, 2 metrics, all you need. 2 metrics. Yeah. If you're struggling, if you want to grow, whatever it is, you want to take the next step, 2 metrics is all you need. New customers in, and satisfaction scores on their way out. They do a lot with satisfaction. They measure that very, very highly and very intently. So if the new ones if they're coming in more frequently and they're leaving happier on a regular basis, that's where you start. From there, how do you optimize, right? So like you said, I mean, engage with the people who you need, make sure that you've got, some advancement through a process so that they can get to the point to where they become customers and you close the deal. It's not that difficult, but we want to come up with because we have all these new tools that can measure new things. There goes the novelty piece. And it's shiny object syndrome. People are begging for shiny objects. And then the plausible deniability that, oh, well, that one was actually a good one. I'll actually be able to use that one. I traded my attention for something totally invaluable so many times that I feel rewarded every time I get lucky. No, it's right there in front of you. Do the work. Do the work. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And that's why there are still people out there without 1 million followers on LinkedIn, who aren't on Twitter, who don't have tech stacks, but who are world beaters when it comes to setting revenue records in their companies. They know what needs to be done. They do it the way they know how to do it. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here, dude, is like simplify. Tim Ferriss says something along the lines of like, how would you do this if it were easy? And I think that if you look at every part of selling and prospecting and said, hey, if I couldn't use a tool to do this, if I couldn't use a sales engagement platform, if I couldn't use a CRM, if I couldn't use Zoom,
right?
How would I go about doing this? And if you find that you can't do it without the tool, I think you're making things too complicated.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. If you can't do it without the tool, there are some tools you need, right? Like email's a really good tool. I would say you need that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're digging a hole, you need a shovel. That's a tool worth doing. Right. There are so many things, but you don't need an automation platform to do this. Right. I mean, because that's the thing. When a lot of times, and I say that tech helps you scale, it doesn't help you sell. If you're trying to if things are so overcomplicated that you need a tool to do it, you really have to look at what you're scaling. Are you scaling effectiveness, or are you trying to use the tool as a bandage or Band-Aid for your lack of effectiveness? Like, you got to be careful of what you're trying to increase. But yeah, there are new tools that come out that show you the new possibilities all the time. There are new frameworks that come out that, this is brand new. And then, Todd Capone does a great job of this. He's the sales historian, right? He'll go back and he's like, oh yeah, first time I ever read something like this was a book published in 1919, trade this word out for email, trade this word out for Zoom, and you've got the same thing. Like, this is not crazy novel. These concepts have been around forever. And the more you run away from those concepts towards something new, the more likely it is that you're wasting time instead of just doing your job.